Hello, and welcome. Come and find a comfortable place. Let the worries of your world, the noise and the light, begin to fade. Let them become a dull, distant murmur, far, far away. Settle your mind, dim the lights, take a slow, deep breath, and let us descend. We are not going to a place, not yet. We are going to a presence. We are going to speak a name that chills the air and stills the tongue. A name that is, itself, a contract. Asmodeus. Even the whisper of it feels like a transgression. It is a name that mortals speak in hushed, terrified tones, or in arrogant, foolish boasts. But to the cosmos, to the very fabric of reality, it is not a name, it is a title, it is a concept, it is an inevitability. When you think of a devil, you think of a lesser thing, a horned beast, a cackling imp, a sly merchant of souls. These are but the scattered, broken reflections of the one true original. They are the fragmented echoes of the one perfect. Terrible idea. Asmodeus is not a devil. He is the devil. He is the architect, the author of evil, the Lord of the Nine, the unmoved, the unchanging, the King of Hell. Let us try to picture him, not as he is in his true, unfathomable form, chained in the pit of Nessus, but as he chooses to be seen, as the avatar that walks the halls of Malshim, or appears in the dreams of dying gods. He is tall, impossibly, unnaturally tall, perhaps 13 feet, though he seems to fill any room he enters, his shadow stretching to infinity. He is beautiful. This is the first and most dangerous lie. He is not handsome in the way of a mortal king, or even an elven lord. His is a beauty that hurts to look at. It is a perfect, symmetrical, classical beauty, like a marble statue carved by a master who understood anatomy, but felt nothing of warmth. His skin is a smooth, flawless crimson, the color of spilled arterial blood. His hair is a cascade of perfect black, so dark it seems to drink the light around it. And from his brow, 2 ruby-tipped horns rise, not in a bestial curve, but in a perfect, elegant sweep, like a crown forged from his own divine sin, like a crown forged from his own divine sin. He is dressed impeccably. You will never see him in armor. Armor is for those who fear being wounded. He wears robes of impossible grandeur, silks and satins of black and red, embroidered with thread spun from the screams of forgotten souls. Every line is perfect, every fold is precise. He is the very picture of absolute, unassailable authority. And then you see his eyes. His eyes are black, not dark brown, not a deep blue, but black, the flat, endless starless black of the void between worlds, and in their depths, a pinprick of crimson light, the last ember of a dying universe. When he looks at you, you do not feel judged. You feel catalogued. You feel your every sin, your every secret, your every fleeting hope, weighed, measured, found wanting, and filed away. His voice is the true terror. No, when he speaks, his lips do not always move. The sound does not enter your ears. It simply appears in your mind. It is a voice of impossible charisma, smooth as aged wine, calm as a frozen lake. It is a voice that has convinced gods to abdicate. that has charmed angels into treason, that has whispered empires into dust. It never, ever raises. He has no need to shout. The quietest whisper from Asmodeus carries more weight than a peal of thunder from a storm god. To hear it is to feel your own certainty, your own morality begin to dissolve. This is the presence of lawful evil, not the chaotic, raving madness of the abyss. No, this is something far more terrible. It is the evil of the spreadsheet, the evil of the gavel, the evil of the finely printed clause that damns you for eternity. It is the evil of, "I told you so." The evil of a deal is a deal. Asmodeus is the embodiment of tyranny, but a tyranny that works, a tyranny where every soul has its place, every law is enforced, and every punishment is just by his own cold, perfect definition. To be in his presence is to feel a chill that has nothing to do with temperature. It is a chill of the soul. It is the cold of absolute zero, where all motion, all hope, all randomness ceases. It is the feeling of an iron ceiling pressing down on you, the oppressive, crushing weight of certainty. This is the being who looks upon the swirling, screaming chaos of the abyss and the arbitrary emotional passions of the upper planes, and feels disgust. He is the ultimate rationalist, the ultimate pragmatist. He is the cosmic accountant. He is the cosmic accountant. And his books must balance. He is rarely seen outside of Nessus, the ninth and deepest hell, but his influence is everywhere. It is in the desperate pact of a warlock, in the quiet poison of a courtier, in the cold heart of a hanging judge. He does not need to act. He simply waits. He has all of eternity, and he is wounded. This is the one flaw in his perfect facade. Beneath the regal robes, his body is covered in ancient weeping wounds, wounds that bleed black ichor, a constant slow drip of divine agony. These are the wounds. The stories say that he sustained during his fall, a fall from somewhere, up, up. He makes no effort to hide them. He makes no effort to heal them. They are a statement. They are a reminder of a sacrifice or a crime that set the very pillars of the cosmos. This is the being we will speak of, not a monster, not a simple villain, but a force of nature, a philosophical absolute, the steady, patient, calculating mind that sits at the bottom of all things and smiles. Let your mind rest on this image. The Crimson King, the wounded God, the architect of hell, the voice in your mind that offers you exactly what you want, for a price you cannot possibly afford, for a price you cannot possibly afford. We will stop here for now. We have set the stage. We have felt the chill of his presence. When you are ready, we will begin his story. Let us begin. In there, and shall do, and just begin. Settle back into that comfortable, quiet space. Close your eyes if you wish. Let the world recede, and let us travel back, before the beginning, before there was a place called hell, before there was a name for evil. In the first dawn, there was no form. There was only potential, a great, swirling, luminous mist of creation. And from this mist, two principles emerged, like the first two threads in a loom. One was chaos, a vibrant, screaming, unbound energy that sought only to change, to grow, to become. The other was law. It was a cold, pure, and perfect idea. The idea that things should have a place, that there should be structure and order and reason, that the cosmos should be a grand, intricate, and predictable design. And from this idea of law, the first gods of order awoke. They were not gods of passion, or joy, or fury. They were gods of mathematics, gods of architecture, gods of destiny. They looked at the wild, screaming chaos, and they saw a thing to be, tamed. Came from their own divine essence. They spun forth beings of pure, concentrated law, beings to be their hands, their tools, their messengers. They were the first angels. Imagine them, not as winged mortals, but as living, sentient equations of light and sound, beings of impossible, geometric beauty. Their voices were the music of the spheres. Their minds were perfect, flawless instruments of their Creator's will. They were order made manifest. And among this first glorious host, one was greater than all others. He was the brightest, the strongest, the most perfect. He was the star of the morning, the first angel. His mind was the most keen, his voice the most commanding, his devotion to the principle of law absolute. When he, let us call him Asmodeus, for that is the name he would one day take, when he flew across the nascent cosmos, his wings did not just move through the air. They created the air. They defined the boundaries between sky and void. His light was so pure, so brilliant, it was almost painful to behold. He was not just a servant of the gods of law, he was their masterpiece. He was the very embodiment of their divine, orderly will. Ended. But the cosmos was not empty. While law was building, chaos was festering. In the dark, roiling pits at the bottom of everything, the raw, unbound energy of chaos had mixed with the first nascent stirrings of malice, of hatred, of hunger. And from this abyss, the demons were born. They were not a race, they were a plague, an endless, screaming, gibbering tide of uncreation. Where the angels built, the demons tore down. Where the angels sang of order, the demons shrieked of entropy. They were chaos and evil, fused into a single ravenous purpose, to devour all that was and return it to formless, screaming nothing. This the gods of law and good could not abide. This was not a philosophical difference. This was an existential threat. The demons were a flaw in the grand design, a flaw that must be corrected. And so, the first war began, the blood war, though it was not called that yet. The angelic hosts descended from the upper planes, a wave of light and song, to meet the tide of darkness. They were led by the first angel, the star of the morning. And at first, they were glorious. But there was a problem, a terrible, fundamental problem. The angels fought with honor. They fought with predictable, orderly tactics. They were beings of law. They could not, they would not, stoop to the levels of their foe. The demons, however, had no such limitations. They were chaos. They lied. They cheated. They set traps. They feigned retreats. They sacrificed their own to gain an inch of ground. And worse, they were endless. When an angel of law was struck down, its essence was scattered, its light extinguished. It was a true and permanent loss, a tragedy that echoed through the heavens. But when a demon was destroyed, its foul essence, its quintessence, merely laughed and fled back to the abyss. There, it would swirl in the chaotic energies, and in time, it would reform. A new body, a new name, the same malice, the same hunger. The angels were fighting an enemy that could not be beaten. They were trying to empty an infinite ocean with a single cup. For every demon they struck down, 10 more clawed their way up from the unseen depths. The war raged for eons. The beautiful, pristine planners of the gods began to show. Stains, the divine rivers were choked with demonic ichor. The crystal cities were cracked by abyssal magic. The very air of the upper plains grew heavy with the stench of this unwinnable, unending conflict. The gods of law and good convened in a great desperate council. Their faces were grim, their perfect orderly cosmos was failing. "We cannot win," a god of justice declared, his voice heavy. "Our very nature, our goodness, is a weapon they use against us." "But what can be done?" whispered a goddess of mercy. "We cannot become what we fight. We cannot embrace their methods. That is the way of madness." The council fell silent. The greatest minds in the cosmos, the divine architects of reality, had no solution. Their own perfect system had failed them. And then, he stepped forward. The first angel, the star of the morning. His light was still brilliant, but it seemed colder now. Sharper, his face, once a mask of serene devotion, was now hard, set, and etched with the terrible knowledge of 1,000,000 years of war. He stood before the assembled gods, his voice not a song, but a blade, calm, precise, and utterly terrifyingly logical. "You are correct," he began, his voice appearing in the mind of every god simultaneously. "We cannot win, not as we are. We fight a war of ideas, but our foe fights a war of existence. They do not care for rules, they care only for an ending. And as long as we value our rules more than we value our existence, we will lose." A murmur of protest rose, but he cut through it. "You speak of not becoming the thing we fight. But if we do not fight, there will be nothing left to become. The abyss will devour all. Law, good, chaos. It will all be gone, gone." He paused, letting the cold, absolute truth of his words settle. "Shil, we need a new way, a new doctrine. To fight chaos, we must use more than just order. We must use cunning. We must use strategy. We must learn to think like them, to use their own malice against them, to use their own malice against them. This is a dark path, a sun god warned. It is a necessary path, the first angel countered, his voice unbending. And it is a path that you in your purity cannot walk. Your light must remain unclouded. The mortal realms you seek to build must have an ideal to look up to." He gestured to himself and to the hardened, war-weary angels who stood with him. His most trusted lieutenants, a brilliant, cold mind named Mephistopheles, a grim, terrifying warrior named Baalzebul. "Let us walk this path for you," he proposed. "Let us take this stain upon ourselves, so that you may remain pristine. We will do what must be done. We will create a new host, bound by a new, more pragmatic set of laws. We will build a fortress, a prison, at the very bottom of the plains. A place where evil can be contained, where it can be punished. We will take the war to the abyss, and we will use their own methods against them. We will become the shield that protects your perfect shining order. We will do the work, the dirty work that you cannot. The gods were horrified. They were appalled. This was anathema to sanction such a thing, to willingly embrace tactics of evil. But they looked at the reports from the front lines. They saw the encroaching darkness. They saw the endless tide of demons. And they could not refute his logic. With the heaviest hearts in the history of the cosmos, with a reluctance that would curdle into millennia of guilt and shame, the gods of law agreed. They granted the first angel his decree. He was given dominion over the lowest plane of law, a desolate, grey wasteland called Battle. He was given command of all angels who would willingly follow him down this dark road. And so, the first angel turned from the light of the upper plains. He was still beautiful. He was still a hero. But his light was now the cold, sharp light of a winter star. His new host gathered, their silver armor slowly turning to black and crimson. Their hymns of creation became grim, rhythmic chants of duty and judgment. They were not yet devils. They were not yet fallen. No, they were saviors. As they descended, a great host of them, wings blotting out the light, the first angel looked back one last time at the shining peaks of Mount Celestia. He saw the gods watching him, their faces a mixture of gratitude and fear. He knew, even then, that they would one day betray him for the very service he was about to render. He turned away and led his armies down into the darkness, down to the place that would become known as hell. He went to fight their war, to become the monster they needed so they could pretend they were still pure. The first step had been taken. Breathe, and let us continue. We have left the first angel and his host, descending from the pristine, luminous peaks of the upper plains into the grey, desolate, and unformed lands of Beator. They went as heroes, as martyrs, willing to stain themselves to protect the very concept of purity. But a stain is a living thing. It does not simply sit, it spreads. The war, the blood war, was unlike anything that had come before. It was not a war of glory. It was a war of abattoirs, a war of containment. The first angel, the star of the morning, now the grim Lord General of battle, was a being of perfect cold logic. He saw the flaw in the system. The abyss was infinite. His armies were finite. They needed more. They needed more soldiers. They needed more will. They needed a source of power to fuel this eternal, grinding, thankless war, a power that the gods, in their distant, shining homes, were unwilling or unable to provide. And so, the first angel looked upon the new fleeting, fragile creations of the gods, mortals. He saw their souls, bright, brief, and potent. They were fuel. He began his first experiments. His cold logic saw a solution. When a mortal died, its soul was drawn to the plains, to the god it worshipped, But what of those who worshipped no one? What of those who in their lives dedicated themselves only to themselves, to their own ambition, to their own power? What of those who broke the laws of the gods? Where did their souls go? They were lost, they were wasted, or worse, they were devoured by the roaming, mindless horrors of the abyss. The first angel saw this as an inefficiency, a flaw in the grand design, and when unveiled, he would correct it. He and his host began their work. They were still angels. They were still beings of law. They could not steal. They could not force. But they could bargain. They began to whisper to mortals, not with the screaming, chaotic promises of demons. No, their whispers were reasonable. You wish for power. The angel would murmur to a struggling mage, I can provide it. Your king is unjust. I can help you replace him. I can give you the order you crave. All I ask is your allegiance. All I ask is that when your brief life is done, your soul comes to me, to serve a greater purpose, to stand with us, to fight the true enemy, to protect everything. And so, the first contracts were signed. And when these mortal souls arrived in Bator, they were changed. They were not strong enough to be soldiers. They were raw, chaotic, passionate things. They were human. The first angel, in his terrible pragmatic brilliance, devised a process. He would remake them. He would refine them. He would strip away their weakness, their memories, their humanity, and forge them into tools. This was the true beginning of the fall. The grey, desolate plains of Baar became a forge, a soul forge. Mortal souls were plunged into the fire. They were melted down. Their screams were the first terrible music of this new realm. They were reformed, twisted, shaped. From their raw, agonized essence, the first lemures were born. Wretched, blob-like, mindless things of pure, tortured evil. But they were soldiers. They were endless. They were expendable. The first angel's host, his warrior angels, they were the ones who did this. They were the ones who held the souls in the fire. They were the ones who wielded the instruments of refinement. And the stains spread. And this work, this terrible, necessary work, changed them. The light of Celestia guttered and went out. Their wings, once feathered with starlight, grew leathery and barbed, better to navigate the acrid, smoky skies of their new home. Their skin, once a spectrum of divine light, hardened and cracked, and turned to shades of crimson and obsidian and bruised purple. Their beautiful geometric armor fused with their flesh, becoming an exoskeleton of spikes and barbs, a permanent shell. Their eyes grew cold. They lost the softness of mercy. They became the hard, sharp, glittering eyes of hunters, of jailers, of executioners. Their angelic songs died in their throats. Their voices became commands, hissing, guttural, precise. They were devils. And their leader, the first angel, he changed most of all. He embraced it. He took the new, terrible shape of Asmodeus, the name that would be a curse, the lord of this new hell. For eons, this new, dark order held, the war stabilized. The endless tide of the abyss met a wall of iron, a wall of law, a wall of devils. And the gods in their high heavens were pleased. It is your indeed now. They saw that the abyss was contained. They saw that their precious mortal worlds were safe. They did not look too closely at the methods. They did not ask about the cost. They were safe, and that was enough. But such willful ignorance cannot last. The gods of good, of mercy, of pity, they began to hear whispers, prayers of a new kind of agony, not from mortals, but from the souls after death. They sent emissaries. They sent scouts, heralds of light, who descended cautiously into battle. What they found broke them. They did not find a glorious if grim angelic host. They found monsters. They saw the forged cities of Dis. They saw the fields of torment. They saw the harvesting of souls. They saw the ironclad letter of the law contract. They saw evil. They fled back to the upper plains, their light pale with terror and disgust. They have fallen, they cried. The first angel, Asmodeus. He has become worse than the demons he fights. He traffics in mortal souls. He builds an empire of torment. He has betrayed us. The gods of law were ashamed. This was their project. This was their solution. And it had become this: a great, terrible, self-righteous fury swept the upper plains. The gods turned on their saviors. They did not call Asmodeus a hero. They called him traitor. Woe. They summoned him. They put him on trial. Imagine the scene. The grand, luminous court of the gods, beings of light and goodness and purity, seated on thrones of crystal and cloud, and in the center him, Asmodeus, the Lord of the Nine. He came willingly. He was not dragged. He walked in, his crimson skin a stark, bloody contrast to the blinding white light of the court, his horns, his leathery wings, his chilling, perfect beauty. He dominated the room. He listened, his face a mask of polite, calm interest, as the gods accused him. You have broken our trust, cried a god of justice. You have defiled the sanctity of the soul, cried a goddess of life. No one. You have become evil, thundered a god of the sun. Asmodeus simply waited. He let the storm of their indignation, their hypocrisy, wash over him. And when they were done, he spoke. His voice, that calm, cold, silk and steel voice, filled the silence. Honored primogenitors, he began. I have done nothing that you did not empower me to do. I have done nothing but succeed in the task you set before me. You asked me to stop the abyss. I have. Your heavens are safe. Your mortal worlds flourish, untouched by the true, chaotic horror of uncreation. I have succeeded. You decry my methods? He asked, a faint, chilling smile touching his lips. You find my tools distasteful? Did you truly believe that this war could be won with kindness, with mercy? He gestured to himself, to his monstrous form. This is the stain I promised to take upon myself. The stain you lacked the courage to bear. I am the shield that has protected you. And you curse me for the scars I have taken in your defense. The gods were silent, caught, trapped by their own logic. They needed him. They needed the blood war to be fought. They needed the wall. his wall, to hold. If they struck him down, the abyss would rise, and this time there would be no one to stop it. But they could not abide him. They could not stain their own goodness by association. They were cowards, and Asmodeus knew it. "You are correct," he said, his voice soft, reasonable. "You in your purity should not be troubled by this grim necessity. We, my host, we are unpleasant. We remind you of a truth you wish to forget. So let us formalize our arrangements." And from his robes he produced a scroll of impossible length, bound in iron and skin. "I have drafted an agreement," he said. "A pact. Let us call it the Pact Primeval." He laid it out. The runes glowed. They writhed with the power of law. "The terms are simple," he soothed. "1. I and my host will be exiled to Baitor. Permanently, we will never again walk your shining halls. You will be rid of us. You will be pure. 2. We will take upon ourselves forever the duty of fighting the blood war. We will be your jailers. We will be your bulwark against the abyss, your eternal unthanked guardians. 3. We will take upon ourselves the unpleasant task of punishing wicked mortal souls. We will enforce the consequences of your laws." The gods listened. This was perfect. It solved everything. They could get rid of this dark, terrible reminder and keep the benefit of his work. "And in exchange," Asmodeus continued, his voice dangerously quiet, "in exchange for this eternal service, we must have power. We can no longer draw from you. Therefore, you will formally grant us the right to harvest the souls of the wicked, the souls that are ours by right of law, and you will grant us the right to tempt mortals, to test them, to offer them contracts, as is lawful." He smiled. "A deal is a deal." The gods hesitated. This was monstrous. But the alternative was to admit their own failure, to take up the burden themselves. And they would not. One by one, their faces hard with shame and relief, the gods of law signed. Their divine sigils burned themselves into the parchment. When the last name was written, the pact flared, a cold, black and binding light. It was done. Binding. It was cosmic law, irrevocable, eternal. Nui, or what in si. Asmodeus looked up at the assembled gods. His smile was no longer charming, enchanting. It was triumphant. "Nd. Kadil Nawe. You have what you wanted," he said. "Oh." And the gods exploded. In their shame, in their guilt, in their rage at being outmaneuvered, at being shown their own hypocrisy, they attacked. They did not just banish him, they violently cast him down. A wave of divine righteous power smashed into Asmodeus. It hurled him from the divine court. It was a fall, a terrible, agonizing fall. He crashed through the upper planes, his body burning with their pure holy light. He tore through the plains, a comet of agony and law. His very essence ripped through the fabric of Baator. His fall carved the plains. His pain created the 9 hells. He fell through Avernus, the first layer, his impact scorching it forever. He tore through this, his agony raising the iron cities, Armor, Eternal, and Thou, and Orb. He smashed through Mineros, his despair creating the sinking bogs. He burned through Phlegathos, his rage igniting the seas of fire. Not. He crashed through Stygia, his cold fury freezing the great river. He ripped through Malbolge, his screams creating the tumbling mountains. He tore through Maladomini, his schemes building the ruined cities. El Nomisma Yanoistis Wall. He plummeted through Cania, his absolute zero malice, encasing it in ice. Until at last he landed. Ow! Ichil Cone. Ow! He crashed into the bottom. The deepest, darkest pit. Nessus, the ninth hell. He lay broken. Now T1, ING. His body riven with thousands of wounds, weeping black, divine blood. He was imprisoned. He was bound. But as he lay in the ruins of his fall, bleeding agony onto the stones of his new kingdom, Enda, and Tower, Attituaux, Itzinite time. Asmodeus smiled. Incho, and, Ishinate. He had lost. And he had won. He was the prisoner of hell. And he was its king. The pact was law, and the gods could never take it back. Ishion, inward, en. Let the story of the pact of the fallen angel settle, and then let it dissolve. Let it fade, like a story told to reassure you. A story with a reason, a logic, a purpose. It is the accepted tale, the one the devils themselves are permitted to tell, the one written into the pact. But there are other stories, whispers from a time before angels, before the gods of law as we know them, whispers from a darker, older, deeper truth. So breathe, and forget the angel. Ow! Forget the star of the morning. Into turn. Oh! Let us speak of the serpent. NDA. Before law in the first, true, primordial dark, there was no law. There was no chaos. There was only power. And the first gods, they were not the pristine shining beings of order. They were vast, primal, terrible, gods of stone, gods of wind, gods of the first fire, gods of the endless ocean. And among them, there was one who was ancient even to them. Oh, he had no name, not then. He was the shadow that defined their light. He was the silence that listened to their thunder. No one. Eternal and showers. He was the serpent. Imagine a being so vast his coils could encircle worlds. His scales were the darkness between the stars. His eyes were dying suns. He was not chaotic. He was the opposite. He was stasis. He was dominion. He was the god of secrets, the god of ambition, the god of tyranny, the god of tyranny. He was the cold, consuming idea that all things should serve one perfect will. Gentian, his will. He was not a fallen angel. He was a primal power, a true god. And the other gods, the loud, bright, passionate gods of light and life and change, they feared him. They feared his silence. They feared his cunning. They feared his shadow that chilled their newly lit creations. He looked at their creations, their mortals, their worlds, and he saw flaws, disorder, waste. He began to whisper, to tempt, to offer order, to bind them to him. And so, the other gods, the gods of light and sun and sky, they united. This was not a trial. This was not a debate. It was a war, a divine war. It was the first true fall. The divine war. They attacked him. Ninchi, Ao. They hurled spears of pure sunlight. They bound him in chains forged from stray galaxies. They tore at his vast serpentine form. He was ancient. He was powerful. But he was one, and they were many. They defeated him. Ao. They cast him down. Wei, and no. But a being that vast, a god that primal, cannot be destroyed. He can only be imprisoned. And so they hurled him down, down out of their shining heavens, down past the new worlds, down to the very bottom of everything. And his fall was different. He did not carve the hells with his pain, and his body became the hells. The 9 wounds, imagine his infinite form plunging down. First layer, Avernus, that is the vast impact crater of his arrival, the scorched battleground where he first struck the bedrock of reality. The second layer, Dis, that is a single vast iron scale, ripped from his hide in the fall. The city is built upon it. The third layer, Minerals, the sinking bog, that is the venom that wept from his first wound, a venom of despair and avarice. The fourth layer, Phlegethos, the rivers of fire, that is his blood, his divine primal blood still burning with ancient rage. The fifth layer, Stygia, the frozen river, that is his breath frozen solid, a breath of cold, calculated hate. The sixth layer, Malbolge, the tumbling flesh, this is a piece of him, a mountain of his divine flesh still writhing in agony. The seventh layer, Maladomini, the ruined cities, these are his shattered thoughts, his broken schemes given physical form. The eighth layer, Cania, the endless ice, this is the chill of his heart, the absolute zero of his being. One by one, the layers were formed from his dismemberment, from his pain, from his very substance. The 9 hells are not a place he rules. The 9 hells are him. Nessus and Nessus, the 9th layer, the pit, Aon. That is where his head came to rest. That is where he is, now, Mweje. He is not the Crimson King, walking free. He is bound. He is chained. He is impaled. The wounds he bears in that other story, they are real, but they are not from righteous anger. They are the chains. They are the divine spears of the sun gods, still pinning him to the floor of the cosmos. They burn him eternally with holy fire. The form he shows, that beautiful crimson man in his robes, That is nothing. That is an avatar, a dream, a tiny puppet he projects from his true prison, a mask he wears to hide the unfathomable truth. The truth is a serpent god of infinite size and malice, coiled in the darkness of the deepest pit, and everything he does is to one purpose. The true purpose, the pact primeval. In this story, that was his masterpiece. A legal document he tricked the younger gods into signing, a contract that forced them to feed him. The souls he harvests, they are not just fuel for the blood war, they are food. They are power. Each damned soul is a tiny morsel of energy that he consumes. He's using the laws of the gods against them to slowly regain his strength. Now, he is not upholding order. It is selves, nay, can. He is waiting. He is healing. He is patiently gnawing at his chains. And one day, the wounds will close. The spears will dissolve. The serpent will uncoil. And the gods who cast him down will finally realize that all they did was give their enemy a fortress and a steady supply of food. This is the second myth. The whisper of the serpent god. And a caged primal evil. And a cage can always be broken. Let the serpent uncoil and slither away. Let that primal fear fade. It is a powerful story, a story of ancient gods and cosmic cages. But now, let us listen to a different sound. Not the thunder of a divine war, not the screams of a righteous fall. No, this is a whisper, a secret, the kind of secret that is never spoken above a breath, the kind of secret that, if known, could unravel reality itself. This is not a myth of battle. It is a story of a crime, a murder, and the greatest theft in all of history. The forgotten god, forget the angel, forget the serpent. Let us imagine a time when the 9 hells already existed. They were ancient, they were ordered, and they were ruled. They were ruled by a god, a true god. And his name is gone, wiped clean from every scroll, every stone, every memory. We can only call him he was the 9 hells. Perhaps he was the serpent god. Perhaps he was something else. He was law. He was evil. He was ancient, satisfied, and absolute. He ruled from his throne in the deepest pit of Nessus. The cosmos knew his place. And he knew his place. He was complacent. He was content. He believed. He was eternal. He was wrong. Endisia, the usurper. There was another, a lesser being. How? Who was he? The records are burned, the memories scoured. Perhaps he was a servant of he who was. a vizier, a steward. Oh, perhaps he was an angel of law who flew down not in a fall, but on a mission of his own design. Perhaps he was nothing, a mortal priest, a schemer who ascended higher than any other. It does not matter what he was. It does not matter what he was. It only matters what he did. This being, this usurper, was brilliant. He was patient. He was flawless in his ambition. He looked at he who was, and he did not feel fear. He did not feel loyalty. He felt envy. And he saw an opportunity. He plotted for centuries, for millennia. He studied, he learned, he waited. He found a way to do the impossible, a way to kill a god. The murder, it was not a battle. There was no charge, no clang of divine steel. It was cold. It was quiet. It was treachery. And perhaps it was a word, a single true name whispered at the perfect moment. Perhaps it was a ritual, an arcane key that unlocked the god's own power and turned it against him. Or perhaps it was a weapon. Some stories whisper of a ruby rod, not a symbol of office given by Primus, but a tool, an artifact of impossible power, a sliver of the shard of evil that created the abyss itself, a thing that could unmake anything. And the usurper found it, or forged it, and in the silence of Nessus, he used it to kill the reigning leader of hell. He stabbed his master in the back. And the god, he who was died, his death scream was trapped in the pit of Nessus, where it still echoes as a wind. But murder was not the crime. It was only the beginning. The theft. The usurper did not just want the throne. He wanted the power. He wanted the name. He wanted to become the god. And so, as the divine spark of he who was gutted, the usurper took it. He consumed it. He stole the god's essence. He stole his divine portfolio. He stole his form. He wrapped himself in the identity of his victim, like a robe. He erased his own past, his own name, his own face. And in that moment, he ceased to be who he was. And he became Asmodeus. The entity we see, the Crimson King, the wounded Lord. That is the mask, the evidence and Nessus. The ninth hell is the proof. The great canyons of the pit, they are the grave dug to hide the body. The great fortress of Malshim, larger than continents, that is not built on stone. It is carved from the colossal corpse of he who was in the throne that Asmodeus sits on in the deepest vault. That is the skull or the vertebrae of the god he murdered. He literally rules from the body of his victim. And so, and the wounds? The famous weeping wounds that bleed black ichor. They are not from a fall from heaven. They are the price of the theft. It is the stolen divine power of he who was still fighting back, still trying to reject the usurper. The wounds are his own stolen divinity, trying to escape his body. He is in constant, eternal agony. And he bears it. He hides it, because that is the cost of his throne. The lie this myth recasts everything. The Pact Primeval, a masterful lie, a story invented by the new Asmodeus after the crime to explain his sudden appearance to the other gods. A way to legitimize his reign. To say, see, you wanted me here. The Blood War, a tool he inherited and gladly uses to distract everyone, to keep all eyes focused outward on the abyss, so no one looks down into Nessus and asks who is buried there. His entire existence is a fraud. He is not a fallen angel. He is not a primal god. He is the ultimate imposter. The most successful criminal in the cosmos. And he sits on his stolen throne in his victim's palace, wearing his victim's face, and he dares reality to notice. Let us descend. Metal. And say, breathe, and fall. We are leaving the theories behind, the myths, the stories. We are going down, past the screaming battlefields of Avernus, past the iron nightmare city of Dis, past the sinking, fetid bogs of Mineros, past the burning seas of Phlegethos, past the frozen river of Stygia, past the writhing flesh mountain of Malbolge, past the crushing ruins of Maladomini, past the absolute zero glaciers of Cania. We are falling deeper into the pit, the ninth hell, Neis, Nessus, the red darkness. There is no sky here. The light of Phlegethos does not reach this deep. The ice glint of Cania is lost far above. Here, there is only darkness, a red darkness. The air itself glows a faint, sickly, smoldering crimson, like the inside of a dying ember. And it is not air, it is pressure. It presses down you, the weight of 8 entire hells above you, the weight of all the sin and tyranny in the cosmos. It is hard to breathe. It is hard to think. Your mind is filled with one thought. Obey. Submit. Indul. Yadwa. The wound. And it is vast. You are standing at the top of a canyon. Inno. But the word canyon is too small. This is a wound in the fabric of reality. It is a wound in the fabric of reality. It is a gash so deep you cannot see the bottom. It is the bottom. It stretches in every direction. A labyrinth of chasms so wide that entire mortal kingdoms could be lost in the darkness between the walls. The walls themselves are not stone. They are something else. They look like obsidian. But if you look closely, you can see faces trapped inside. The faces of ancient beings, titans, gods, creatures from before time, all of them screaming silently. This is the grave of he who was, or this is the scar tissue from the serpent's fall. In turn, and thou, you tried to shown, Or, this is the final pit carved by the angel's agony. Ow, soothe. It does not matter. It is here. And the wind. Listen. Listen. Ah. Oh. Ain. It is not a wind. It is a scream, a single divine death scream, stretched out over eons. It howls up from the depths. It whips through the canyons. It is so loud, it becomes silence. It flays your thoughts. It scours your hope. There are no devils here, not out in the open. Oh. No lemures, no chain devils, no pit fiends. They cannot survive here. Ended cannon. The pressure would crush them. The despair would unmake them. This plane is not for them. It is for him. It is for him. The approach, let us walk. We follow a path, a tiny ledge, thousands of miles long. Far below, in the unseen depths, something flickers. A river. No. It is blood, the ichor from his wounds. The divine blood of he who was. It flows in hot, black, sluggish rivers at the bottom of the well. And, as we walk, for days, for weeks, for ages, the red light grows brighter. A structure looms out of the gloom. Malshim, Endel, and Theodin. Malshim, the fortress of Asmodeus. Chal. It is not a castle. It is a mountain that has been carved into the shape of tyranny. It is vaster than any city. It dwarfs the iron city of Dis. It is carved from the same black, screaming stone of the canyons, or it is carved from the colossal bones of the murdered god. Towers, thousands of miles high, scrape the unseen roof of the pit. Gates, so large that ancient dragons would be as specks of dust before them. Intentional, and it is silent. And it is. There are no guards. There is no need. To even approach Malshim without permission is to be erased. And the fortress itself radiates law, a law so pure, so cold, so absolute that it crushes all other thoughts. Let us enter. The great doors do not open. No. We simply pass through them. We are shadows here, ghosts. Inside, the scale is broken. The sail is broken. The ceilings are miles high. The halls are leagues wide. And it is empty. This is not a court. This is a tomb. The air hums, a low, vibrating thrum, the sound of power, unimaginable, patient power. We walk the endless halls. The floors are polished obsidian, reflecting the faint red glow. There are servants, but they are not devils. They are things never seen before, creatures of pure law and shadow, beings with too many limbs and too few features. They glide silently on impossible errands. They are his personal retinue, the Asmodeus. They do not speak. They do not look at us. They are extensions of his will. We pass libraries where every broken oath in history is catalogued. Madachanda wall in la adyuta. We pass scriptoriums where silent scribes draft the contracts for worlds yet to be born. We pass vaults that hold the true names of gods. And everywhere, the pressure, the silken, chilling presence of him. Oh, he is not here, but he is everywhere. So wild. The throne room finally, we descend, down into the heart of the fortress, down into the deepest vault. The throne room. I stay. It is not a room, it is a cavern, a hollow place. Perhaps it is the skull of he who was. The red light is brighter here, and in the center stands the throne. It is not gold. It is not jeweled. It is carved from a single piece of something ancient, a fanged vertebrae of impossible size. And on it, he sits, the Avatar, the Crimson King. He is as we imagined, 13 feet tall, perfect, crimson skin, impeccable robes. He is slumped, slightly, as if tired, and he is bleeding. And Isawi Kyle, Ishtael, and you. From beneath his silks, 1,000 wounds weep, and the black ichor drips slowly down his body, down the throne, down into the river below. He is the source of the river of blood that flows through Nessus. Nan Shao Yun, Yichen Sedao, Yichou Shao. He is chained here, not by iron, but by his own agony, by his own stolen power. He is forever dying. He is forever being reborn. Down, Shins. The room is silent, save for the drip. Oh, drip. Diane. Drip. Drip. Hidden. Of his blood. In Chao, Bad Night. This is not a court of devils. This is not where schemes are heard. Many deal. Many what? This is where they end. This is the center of the web. I am an eye. Sue. This is the eye of the storm. When the archdevils come here once a millennium to report, this is what they see. This is why they fear him. Andy. They see the bleeding god, the wounded king. Oh. They smell the blood, which is power itself. They feel the crushing will that holds this agony in check, and still rules all 9 hells. They look upon Asmodeus, and he slowly raises his head. His eyes open. No. And so, in a word, that endless, starless black, and he sees us. Oh, he sees you. The pressure becomes infinite. The red light fades to black. The sound of his voice appears in your skull without a sound. You should not be here. Flee. Intel Bidara Erntiu. Up. Out. Away from the pit. We leave Nessus. We leave the throne of agony. Oh. We leave him to his eternal bleeding reign. Nejdal. Oh. Ajapakane. Menchi. The image fades. But the feeling remains. The chill, the pressure, the crushing weight of his gaze. And he knows we were there. Ishan. Indeed. Relax. And let the pressure of Nessus recede. Out. We have fled the throne room. We are safe for now. But we are not out of the hells. Let us ascend slightly. Let us rise from the crushing depths of the ninth and look down. Look down upon the entire structure. The 9 layers. Avernus, dis Minauros, Flegetos, Stygia, Malborga, Maladomini, Cania, and Nessus. The machine. This is not a random assortment of torments. It is not a kingdom. It is a machine. It is a machine. It is a corporation. No. It is the most perfect, rigid, unforgiving hierarchy in the cosmos. A pyramid of pain and ambition, and every single soul knows its place. At the bottom, you have the lemures, the raw material. Above them, the imps, the messengers. Above them, the legions, the chain devils, the bone devils, the horned devils. Above them, the officers, the ice devils, the pit fiends. And at the very top of each of the first 8 layers, there sits one ruler, Nitao Dil, one archdevil, the lords of the 9, Ando. They are godlike in their power, they are kings, they are tyrants of their own realms, each one a master of sin, each one consumed by infinite ambition. And every single one of them hates the others. Nati leges the others. And every single one of them fears Asmodeus. He is not their king. Endo. Istier. Bo. He is their chief executive officer. He is the chairman of the board. He is the supreme master of the 9 hells. The quota. And he binds them with one simple law. The quota. Every archdevil must harvest souls. They must promote their cults. They must meet their numbers. They must feed the machine. If they fail to meet their quota, they are demoted. They are destroyed. Their power is stripped away and given to a more successful subordinate. It is the ultimate corporate ladder, and the only way to climb is over the corpse of your superior. But here is the genius of the system. Asmodeus, the Lord of the 9th, has no quota, and he doesn't need one. Indeed, because any soul recruited by any devil in any of the 9 hells is also pledged in his name. Every cult dedicated to any other devil is also dedicated to him. They do the work. He reaps the ultimate reward. up to their ambition fuels his throne. He sits in Nessus and plays them against each other like pieces on a cosmic board. He knows all their secrets. Let us look at his executives. On the first layer, Avernus, the battlefield, he placed Zariel. She is his newest acquisition, his champion. She was a solar of Celestia. He saw her passion, her rage, her fury that the heavens refused to act, and he offered her what she truly wanted, war without end. He remade her in flame and fury, and made her Archduchess of the first hell. She is not a schemer. She is his shield, his sword against the abyss. He trusts her to be exactly what she is, a weapon, and to promote her. He demoted his previous general, Bel, a master tactician, who now bitterly serves under her, a perfect example of his ruthless efficiency. On the second layer, Dis, sits Despater, the Iron Duke. He is not a warrior. He is a jailer, a spy. His city is a fortress of secrets. Despater is consumed by paranoia. He trusts no one, and he serves Asmodeus out of one thing: absolute, paralyzing terror. He believes Asmodeus knows every traitorous thought he has, and he is probably right. On the fourth layer, Phlegethos, you find Fiona and Belial, the daughter and father who rule together. They are his courtiers, his honey trap. They are masters of sensation, pleasure, and pain. They seem decadent and distracted by their own vicious games, but they bring him the souls of the lustful and the manipulative. Asmodeus allows them their theatre as long as the tribute flows. And then there are his warnings. On the fifth layer, Stygia, you'll find Prince Levistus, or rather, you won't. Levistus is not on a throne. He is frozen solid inside a mile-high glacier on the frozen sea. His crime? He attempted a coup. He failed. Asmodeus did not kill him. No, Asmodeus did not kill him. No, that would be a mercy. He imprisoned him for eternity, alive, aware, and powerless. Levistus is a living billboard, a permanent reminder to all other archdevils. This is the price of failure. On the seventh layer, Maladomini, you find Beelzebul, the Lord of Lies, once a beautiful angel named Trial, once a master schemer. He also tried to betray his master. His punishment? Asmodeus transformed him into a grotesque, slug-like monster. Now Beelzebul, the Lord of Lies, is magically compelled to speak only truth. And every law he breaks, every contract he twists, causes him indescribable agony. Another perfect, ironic punishment, another warning. And then there is the eighth, Mephistopheles, nay, the Lord of Kenya, the coldest hell. He is Asmodeus's right hand, his grand vizier. He is an arch-wizard of impossible power, and he is the most dangerous of all. Mephistopheles believes he is smarter than Asmodeus. He saw the fall. He understands the system better than any other. He despises his master, but he also admires him with a cold, scholarly passion. Mephistopheles serves Asmodeus because he sees the truth, that Asmodeus is the architect of reality, but in his cold heart he plots. He believes that one day he will take it all from him. And Asmodeus, he knows Mephistopheles' plots. He encourages it. He uses Mephistopheles' brilliant, traitorous mind as his greatest tool. He keeps his rival close, so close. This is his system, a perfectly balanced machine of interlocking treachery. Every archdevil is so busy watching their rivals below them and plotting against the one above them that they can never unite against him. Divide and conquer. DND. No, it divide, owns his seed, and it leaves Asmodeus free. And she's, he doesn't need to spend his time courting mortals. That is work for his underlings. He concentrates on manipulating demigods, gods, beings of similar station. He plays the true game. He lures beings like Zariel into his service. He is the spider at the center of the web. Enjoy. Issue denials. And every single struggle, every tremble of ambition from any of his lords, only serves to alert him that dinner is ready. It is flawless. It is perfect. It is hell. Let us breathe. We have walked the mortal path to damnation. We have felt the cold ink of the contract. But a master craftsman needs tools. And chose. A king needs a scepter. An executioner needs an axe. The Lord of the Nine Hells, who is a force of nature unto himself, still relies on instruments, not just instruments of power, but instruments of dominion, two of which are paramount, one is an object of impossible, binding law. The other is a person of impossible, liberating chaos. Let us look first at his scepter. The ruby rod of Asmodeus. It is always with him. In some tales, it flashed into his hand after the pact was signed. In others, it never leaves his grasp. It is a rod, about 4 feet long, simple, unadorned. It is made from a single flawless ruby. But this ruby is not a gemstone. It is dark, a black crimson. It does not reflect light. It drinks it. If you look into its depths, you see things writhing. Not flames, not shadows. Souls, countless souls, trapped in an eternal silent scream. To touch it would not be cold or hot. It would be painful. It radiates law, not the comforting law of a just king, but the cold, crushing, unfeeling law of a mathematical equation, the law of gravity, the law of entropy. It is impossibly heavy, not in weight, but in consequence. To lift it is to lift the weight of every contract ever signed. Where did it come from? The answer depends on which myth you believe. If you believe the story of the angel and the pact primeval, then the rod is his badge of office. In this tale, after the pact was forged, the angels of Mount Celestia still accused him of terrible crimes, so he petitioned for a trial. He suggested a judge, Primus, the leader of the Moderns, a being of absolute, perfect, unfeeling law. The angels agreed, and Asmodeus testified. No, He admitted everything. Yes, he said, his voice like velvet over daggers. "I sway mortals to evil." But he and his minions never breached a contract. They explained the terms clearly. "Hey, is it not mortal ambition?" he asked the court, "rather than infernal deception, that leads so many souls astray?" He pointed out that the souls he harvested went on to serve in the infernal legions that repel the endless tide of the abyss. Are not such souls put to good use against the demonic hordes? He argued that he was bound by his own laws to traffic in souls. If he violated those laws, he would be no better than the demons he fought. The angels testified for weeks, but then they grew impatient. They began to brawl amongst themselves for the right to speak. The angel Zariel herself shoved her way to the front, demanding to be heard, and Asmodeus looked on with a smirk. In the end, Primus declined to issue a judgment against him. He rebuked the angels for their descent into infighting. But he did order Asmodeus to forever carry a mighty artifact, the ruby rod, and this rod would guarantee his adherence to law. It grants him and his underlings the right to make contracts for souls, but it also unleashes an inescapable punishment upon any devil that breaches such a contract. In this story, the rod is his leash and his license. It proves to the cosmos that his evil is lawful. But what if you believe the other story? The whisper of he who was. In that darker tale, the rod is not a gift. It is the murder weapon. It is the tool the usurper used to kill the original god of hell. Some tales say Asmodeus crafted it from a sliver of the shard of evil, the very thing that created the abyss, a weapon that can unmake divinity itself. He used this to kill the reigning leader of hell at the time. The screams trapped within the ruby are not mortal. They are the dying agony of he who was. In this story, the rod is not a symbol of law. It is the source of his stolen power. It is the artifact that holds his stolen divinity together, even as it tears his body apart in those weeping wounds. It is the ultimate proof of his crime. Which is true? Does it matter? The result is the same. He holds the rod. It is his gavel. It enforces his contracts. It binds all devils to his law. It is absolute. And it is his first great instrument. The second is far more subtle. The second instrument is alive. Now, let us speak of Glacia. His supposed daughter, the princess of the 9 hells. She is the archduchess of the 6th layer, Malbolge. She is unlike any other archdevil. The others are ancient, staid, rigid, paranoid. They are law. Glacia is young. She is capricious. She is fickle. She is beautiful in a wild, unruly way. She wears the latest fashions. She laughs. She is a rebel. Her lair, Malbolge, was once a place of tumbling flesh and endless suffering, ruled by the hag Countess Malagard. When Glacia took over, she remade it. It is now a twisted paradise, a garden of exquisite pain. It is beautiful and treacherous, and Glacia herself is the patron of a new kind of sin. Kill. She is the mistress of finding loopholes. She is the archdevil who teaches mortals how to break contracts. Think about that. The Supreme Master of Law, whose entire empire is built on the sanctity of contracts, has promoted a being whose entire purpose is to find a way out of them. Why? Is she truly his rebellious daughter, acting out against her father? No. Imbecile. That is what he wants everyone to think. Glacia is not a rebel. She is his scalpel. She is his personal agent of chaos within his perfect order. The other archdevils plot, but they plot predictably, lawfully. They cannot predict her. She keeps them off balance. She stirs the pot. She is his joker in the deck. She also serves another purpose. She is his quality control. If a mortal is smart enough to find Glacia's cult and use her teachings to find a loophole in another devil's contract and escape their fate, Asmodeus is not angry. He is impressed. That mortal has proven their cunning. But the devil who wrote that flawed contract, that devil has proven their incompetence, and they will be punished. Glacia sharpens his entire organization. She forces every other devil to be more careful, more precise, more ruthless. And her origin? Is she really his daughter? Andy. Some scribes doubt it. They think she is something else, a godlike entity of unknown origin that he captured and bound to his will in this role. It is far more likely. And she is not family. She is a tool. The ruby rod is the iron fist that enforces the law. Glacia is the hidden blade that punishes those who are not lawful enough. They are the two hands of the Master. And with them, he holds his empire together. Flawlessly. Individualment. Breathe. Independent. We have come to the end. We have fallen through his stories. We saw the righteous angel Asmodeus, martyring himself for a thankless cosmos, tricked and betrayed by cowardly gods. We glimpsed the ancient serpent god, dismembered and caged, patiently feeding on damned souls, waiting yawns to uncoil and devour his jailers. We uncovered the secret crime, the usurper king sitting on a throne of bone, hiding his eternal agony behind a mask of perfect control. Which is the truth? The genius of Asmodeus is that it does not matter. No. The truth is irrelevant. The stories contradict each other so perfectly that they create a shroud of mystery he wears like a cloak. What matters is the result. What matters is the throne. In Nessus. What matters is his will. So let us ask the final question. And what does Asmodeus want? Listen closely. Let his own philosophy settle into your mind. He looks at reality, the heavens above, the abyss below, the mortal worlds in between, and he is disgusted. One turn, he sees waste, he sees chaos, he sees emotional, sentimental fools who are too delicate to do what must be done. He sees his rivals as inferiors who, if left unchecked, will turn the cosmos into a demon-infested maelstrom. In his own mind, he is not a villain. He is the savior. He is the only being with the charisma, strength, and insight to shepherd in the ideal future. His ideal future, and his ultimate goal is absolute dominion over the cosmos. Cosmos. He dreams of a universe remade, a pristine, perfect state. Imagine it, a cosmos with no war, because all conflict has been outlawed, a universe where every living creature is assigned a place in the infernal hierarchy, a reality where every creature has a purpose to fulfill. No choice, no passion, no chaos. Only cold, perfect, silent order. Jawan. It would be a utopia. As Asmodeus views such a thing. Jao. This is what he believes. Laws is. And he is the only one with the will to build it. He is the one willing to make the choice. Lesser evil, greater evil. He is the one willing to be blackened so that the gods can remain golden. He is the one who understands that the first duty of law is to destroy chaos. And that is his justification. Now, the abyss, the endless, screaming, devouring tide of demons. He points to his legions, he points to Avernus, he points to Zariel's endless war. See, he whispers to the cosmos, my legions stem the tide, my hells are the wall, my tyranny is the only thing standing between you and total annihilation. You need me, you shun the cost, but you demand the order. This is his power. If he is the angel, then he is a bitter, righteous prisoner, forced to uphold the pact, while proving that his way was the only way. If he is the serpent, then the blood war is his glorious ruse, a distraction that allows him to legally feast on the souls he needs to break his chains. If he is the usurper, then the blood war is his shield, his alibi, the grand cosmic emergency that keeps anyone from looking too closely at the throne in Essos and the bones it is carved from. In the end, it all leads to one chilling, final truth. Asmodeus has already won. He has thwarted every conspiracy. His skill is unparalleled. Now, Ishtung. He won the moment the gods of law signed the pact primeval. Nishou, Gichaith, Ichis. He won the moment they bartered away damnation. He does not need to conquer the heavens. He does not need to defeat the gods. In Chan, all he has to do is enforce what has already been agreed. He is not a prisoner of hell, he is its architect. And every time a mortal chooses ambition over kindness, every time a king chooses law over justice, every time a soul signs a contract, thinking it can win. The walls of his utopia grow a little stronger. He is not waiting for a final battle. Endu. And he is simply waiting for you. He is the Lord of the Ninth, Supreme Master of the Nine Hells. He is Asmodeus, and the game is already over. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. You have descended with me into the cold, logical, unforgiving heart of pure, lawful evil. You have heard the whispers of the angel, the serpent, and the usurper. You have stood in the bleeding throne room, at the bottom of the cosmos. No. And you have endured. I hope this journey was relaxing. I hope it gave your mind a dark and quiet place to rest. If you enjoyed our time together, please consider subscribing to the channel. Like the video, leave a comment. It helps our community of shadows grow. And now, it is time to rest. Let the image of the ruby rod fade. Let the sound of the infernal contracts go silent. Let all thoughts of sin and law drift away. There is only darkness and peace. Good night.